Chapter 18. Havren. Orren reached for the wrong hand. He knew it before his fingers touched Aurelion's. Not Evara's. Not Malin's. Not Mara's smoke-warm hand against his cheek. Not Same's broad, careful fingers wrapping a burn. Not Iron's hand dragging him from roads he should not have survived. This hand was clean, too clean. It had never hauled water from a frozen pump. Never scraped a pot. Never tied a poor knot in bad weather. Never clutched wet sand while begging the sea to give back what it had taken. A god's hand, warm as fever. The moment Orren's fingers closed around it, the rain rose from the ground. It did not fall upward all at once. First, the drops on his sleeves lifted, trembling. Then the water in the grass shivered free of every blade. Mud loosened from his knees and broke into dark beads that hung in the air around him. Blood diluted by rain lifted from his chin and hovered red before his mouth. Iron shouted something. The storm took it apart. Aurelion's grip closed. Orren's bones heard thunder before his ears did. He tried to pull back. Too late. The hand held him without tightening. That was the first lesson of the mantle. A god did not need force where the world had already been persuaded. Lightning struck the hill, not from sky to ground, from Aurelion into Orren. White pain entered through the hand and went looking for every hollow place grief had made. It found the mark under his tongue, and Orren gagged as the failed bargain burned cold against the storm's heat. It found his throat, the empty place where song had lived, and filled it with pressure too large to become sound. It found the wound at his shoulder, where Ankistro's talon key had cut him. It found the old bruises, the swallowed seawater, the torn knees, the cracked palms, the place on his cheek where Malin had touched him before dying. It found Evara's name. Orren closed his other hand around his own chest as if he could hide it. The storm went in anyway. Evara. The name lifted from him. Not spoken, not sung. A private thing pulled toward the sky and held under lightning until its edges began to change. No, he seized it. Not that. Take the pain. Take the blood. Take the river mark. Take the shame. Take the thing in him that had turned. Take the hand that had reached too late. Take every song he had failed to keep gentle, but not the way she had stood in the low beam and refused to clap. Not the way she had said his rhyme was lazy. Not the seed corn under her mattress. Not the one breath she had needed on the path. Aurelion's voice moved through the storm. You cannot keep grief private and make it useful. Orren screamed. Only voice. Only a man. The storm answered because where his song had been, thunder now found room. The sound that came from him shook the hill. Iron dropped to one knee. The grass flattened outward in a circle. Rain burst away from Orren's body in white spray. The sealed road mark behind him flashed once under the mud, then vanished deeper, as if even the old path had flinched. Orren's hand was still in Aurelion's. He could feel his fingers. Too much. Every bone in them seemed to lengthen, harden, remember a shape it had not been born with. His arm pulled tight from wrist to shoulder. The cut Ankistro had made burned closed, then reopened in a line of white light, then sealed again as a scar too clean to be healing. His ribs spread around a breath larger than his lungs. His spine arched. His knees left the mud, though he did not stand by choice. The mantle lifted him. No, Aurelion lifted him. No, the storm inside the mantle lifted what it had decided could still be used. Orren fought for his own weight. He wanted the mud. That became clear with terrible force. He wanted to collapse. He wanted to lie on the hill and weep until the rain filled his ears. He wanted to be only a failed man beside a closed road, useless, ruined, untidy, unclaimed, by purpose. The mantle refused. It held his body upright. That was its first cruelty. Aurelion watched with eyes full of bright approval. Yes, the Storm Crown said. Orren hated him then. That hatred entered the mantle too. The storm took it and smoothed the edge. Anger became force. Shame became endurance. Grief became direction. No, those were his. Ugly, but his. He tried to turn them back inward, to keep them as wounds instead of weather. The mantle opened them from the inside. Every private hurt became pressure moving outward through blood and bone. The low beam widened into a crowd. Evara's silence became a lesson. The shipwreck became trial. Malin became inheritance. The failed bargain became law. His lost song became vacancy. Vacancy became a place for thunder. A man could not hold so much and remain small. Orren wanted to remain small. No one asked him. Aurelion placed his other hand against Orren's throat. The mark of the forfeit burned under the god's palm. Orren choked. For one heartbeat, he felt the last house again. Blue fire, black records, Evara's palm on glass. Volus's voice reading aloud what she had demanded be written. Evara Soln, followed by her own steps. Evara Soln paused on path without choosing refusal. Evara Soln remained present. The words struck the mantle like stones thrown into floodwater. Orren clung to them. She was there. She was there. She was. Thunder rolled through his ribs. Aurelion's fingers pressed beneath his jaw. The dead keep records, the Storm Crown said. The living need symbols. Orren tried to spit at him. Rain and blood left his mouth instead. Iren's voice cut through the storm. Orren! The name reached him. Barely. It came along a road so thin it should not have survived Aurelion's presence. A thread of sound, stubborn and illegal, carrying nothing but the private name. Orren. For one breath, he saw himself outside the mantle. Orren Keld, cold room, fish skin, cracked six-string, Evara's thumb on the patched seam where his had rested. Rain on the dock, the stupid blue string tied to her basket. His own voice, before it broke. Orren. He reached toward the name. The mantle reached too. It did not destroy it. That would have been easier to fight. It placed the name beneath another. Aurelion spoke. Orren Keld was a singer. The sky lowered. He sang Hunger Warm and called that life. Lightning moved around them, circling, not striking. He loved a woman and mistook need for trust. Orren's body shook. He crossed death and failed the term designed to reveal him. Iron rose with both hands clenched. Enough. The storm shoved him back. Aurelion did not look at him. He lost the song that made him bearable to himself. Orren tried to close his eyes. Could not. Aurelion's hand at his throat held his head lifted to the sky. But loss is not an ending, unless a man has no god to name the remainder. The words entered Orren like nails. He felt the name coming before he heard it. Not language first. Office. Wait. A place in the world already made and waiting. As if countless lives had needed this shape before he ever bled enough to fill it. A public hollow. A hero-shaped wound. Men would cheer into it. States would send petitions. Mothers would point to it. Children would sing versions that left out the blood. Gods would guide it. Armies would follow it. Priests would bless it. Kings would borrow it. Enemies would fear it. Orren would stand inside and be mistaken for whole. He fought then with everything. No song came, only breath, only body. He twisted against Aurelion's grip, bare foot clawing at the mud, wounded arm striking uselessly against the god's chest. Lightning ran over his skin and did not burn him where it should have. His wounds sealed as fast as the struggle opened them. Strength rose in him against his will. He hit harder. That too pleased the mantle. He was being made able to survive resisting another cruelty. "Let me fall," Orren said. His voice broke on the last word. Aurelion's face changed. Not with pity, with something nearer sadness. If sadness could stand at the head of an army and still call itself clean. No, the answer was almost gentle. That made it unforgivable. You will fall often, Aurelion said, but not here. Not before beginning. I do not want beginning. Few mortals do when it arrives, honestly. There is nothing honest in this. Aurelion's eyes brightened. There, he said again. Keep that. A hero without anger becomes a banner. Banners are useful only until wind changes. I am not your hero. Not yet. Orren's laugh came out broken and ordinary. The mantle hated the ordinary sound. It moved in his throat, searching for replacement. Not song. Something wider, less delicate. A sound that did not need a listener's consent, because thunder had never asked permission to be heard. Orren clamped his mouth shut. The pressure built behind his teeth. His jaw ached. His ribs expanded around the storm. Aurelion lifted his hand from Orren's throat and placed it over Orren's heart. The hill vanished. Not truly, but Orren saw beyond it. 100 villages burning in weather that did not belong to them. Children running from things with old law in their mouths. Ships breaking in black water. Men dragged by bargains they had not known they signed. Women seated in rooms that called stillness mercy. Boys with songs turned into weapons. Girls with names written incorrectly by people who needed the story simpler. Evara appeared among them. No, not Evara. The story of Evara. Lost beloved. Dead bride. Woman behind him. Reason for the hero's grief. A shape crowds could hold without asking whether she had wanted one breath to herself. The mantle began to take her into itself as fuel. Orren snarled. That sound had thunder under it. Do not. Aurelion's hand pressed harder. Then remember better. The command struck deep. Orren seized Evara's record like a live coal. She was there. She followed. She paused. She told him to stop. She reached by her own will. He held each line inside the storm. And for one moment, the mantle did not know what to do with a grief that refused to become simple. Good. Good. His. Hers. The storm shifted. Not defeated. Complicated. It roared through him. But now something in its center remained jagged, unfiled, resisting the smoothness of public myth. Aurelion's eyes narrowed. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. Yes, he said, that will hurt. Keep it. Orren did not know whether that was victory or another way of being used. Probably both. The mantle sank deeper. It entered his bones. Not metaphor. He felt it in marrow. Hot and bright, threading the living structure of him with storm law. His blood thickened around sparks. His lungs took in rain and made it breath. His skin remembered lightning as kin. The failed bargain mark under his tongue did not vanish, but the storm wrapped around it, not healing, not undoing, only making it part of a larger wound that could be carried without immediately dying. He hated the relief. His body stopped shaking. That was wrong. It should shake. It should fail. It should know what had been lost and answer by breaking. Instead, his spine straightened. His knees steadied. His bare foot pressed into mud as if rooted there. His wounded arm lifted without pain. His throat, ruined and songless, opened around breath that did not rasp. A steady breath. He feared that more than agony. Orren saw it too. The Road Wing's face went still with horror. Orren, he said again. The name arrived weaker now. Not because Orren had less power, because the mantle had begun placing distance inside Orren. Orren tried to answer him. He could not find the right sound. Not song, not thunder, just answer. Aurelion's hand left his chest. The storm around them rose. Rain fell again, hard and clean, striking Orren's face, running down his neck, washing blood from his skin. It did not wash the mark from beneath his tongue. It did not wash Evara's blood touch from memory. It did not wash Malin's feathers from the creases of his hands, though no feathers remained. Aurelion stepped back, for the first time since Orren had taken his hand. The god released him. Orren stayed upright. That was the first wrong thing. His body should have folded. It should have known the shape of grief and returned to the mud. Instead it held, remade around a strength he had not asked for. Rain slid from his jaw. Thunder moved somewhere under his ribs. The air around him smelled of wet stone. Iron and sky split open. Evara took one step toward him. The storm no longer stopped him. He stopped himself. Orren looked at him. The Road-Wing's eyes were bright. Not with tears. Not quite. With a rage too old for his young face and guilt too fresh to hide. "Say your name," Evara said. Aurelion looked at him. Evara did not look away. "Say it," he said to Orren. Orren opened his mouth. Orren Keld. The name was there. He could feel it. Small, human, muddy, hungry. A name that had slept in taverns, run through rain, loved poorly, sung beautifully, failed terribly. A name Evara had spoken in anger and worry, and once, in the water perhaps. A name Malin had tried to put inside my boy, before death took the rest. He reached for it. Thunder struck inside his throat. Not painful, louder than pain. The name vanished under the sound. Aurelion's voice came over him, through him, around him. "Let the broken place bear storm." The sky answered. A white bolt split the clouds and struck the ground at Orren's feet. Mud burst outward in a ring. Grass smoked. Evara shielded his face with one arm. Aurelion stood within the light, as if it were a cloak being fastened. The storm crown spoke the new name. Havren. The name entered Orren, like weather, entering a broken roof. It did not ask where to settle. It filled cracks. It lifted beams. It drowned small fires. It found Orren Keld and placed him behind the storm. Not dead, not gone, but farther from his own hands. Havren, the hill heard it. The sealed road heard it. Somewhere below, perhaps, the last house recorded it. Somewhere in the last house, perhaps, Evara felt a pressure in the air and looked up from a drawer of failed bargains, without knowing why her burned hand had begun to ache. Orren. No. Havren, no. He stood between names, and could not make either shelter him. Aurelion lowered his arms. The storm quieted. Not ended. Quieted. Like a great animal commanded to heal. "Havren, the Stormbearer," Aurelion said. The title followed the name into him. Stormbearer. Not singer, not lover, not son, not failed. All of those remained. But they were pushed back, placed under the title like objects stored in drawers where no guest would see them unless invited. Havren looked at his hands. They were still his. Long fingers. Torn nails. Mud in the creases. Scars newly white where wounds had been. They trembled only faintly now. He hated that. He tried to hum. No song came, but thunder stirred. Deep in his chest, a low sound answered the attempt, vast and public and empty of everything he had meant to reach for. The air pressure shifted. Rain bent away from him. Grass flattened. Evara stepped back. Havren closed his mouth at once. His hands shook harder then. Good. Some part of him could still shake. Aurelion watched. "You will learn. I do not want this." His voice was different. Not deeper, exactly. Wider. As if the air now made room before he spoke. The sound frightened him. Aurelion inclined his head. Want rarely survives naming unchanged. "Take it back." "No." "Take it back." "No." Havren stepped toward him. The storm moved with him. Evara said, "Orren." The private name struck like a small stone against a temple bell. Havren stopped. For one breath, the storm inside him opened around the old name and did not crush it. Orren. He turned toward Evara. The road wing looked at him with such naked regret that the mantle tried to turn the sight into purpose. Alley, witness, road, future use. Orren held it as pain instead. "Do not let him call me that," he said. Irene's face changed. Aurelion's gaze sharpened with interest. Orren had not meant the storm crown. He had meant the mantle. He had meant the name that had just entered him and begun arranging his grief into architecture. Irene understood. Of course he did. The road wing swallowed. "I will try," he said. The answer was poor. It was also true. Orren almost laughed. Only breath came out. Rain passed between them. Aurelion turned toward the slope below, where the land opened into valleys, villages, roads, wars not yet named. "Come." Orren did not move. Aurelion looked back. "You have been given a mantle. I heard. You will be trained to bear it. I heard that too before you said it." Aurelion's mouth curved. The approval came again. Orren wished he knew how to cut it out of the air. "I need," he began. "Evara." Her name rose, and the mantle moved toward it. He clamped his teeth shut. Need was dangerous now. Perhaps it always had been. Aurelion waited. Orren tried again. "I need to remember." The storm crown looked at him for a long moment. Then he said, "Then remember while moving." Of course. Gods and roads and bargains all loved motion when a man needed stillness. Orren looked at the sealed ground where the last house had closed. No door, no seam, no path, only rain, mud, grass. He knelt. The mantle resisted. He forced it. His knees entered the mud. Good. Pain did not come as sharply as before. His body had already been changed enough to deny him certain proofs of damage. But the mud was cold. It touched him. It marked him. It did not care what he was called. He pressed both hands into it. Irene said nothing. Aurelion said nothing. Orren bowed his head over the sealed road. He could not sing. He could not reach below. He could not even trust death to carry him where she was. So he spoke. And the words were only words, and that made them all he had left of honesty. "Evara Soln followed by her own steps," he said. Rain struck his hair, his neck, his newly healed scars. Evara Soln paused, without choosing refusal. The mantle shifted inside him. He held the words harder. "Evara Soln was there when I turned." Thunder muttered under the hill. "No, let it mutter. Do not let it speak over her. Evara Soln told me to stop." His throat tightened. No song came to help. Evara Soln reached by her own will. The rain softened, not by magic, or perhaps the world had simply become tired of striking him. Orren lifted one hand from the mud. A dark smear clung to his palm. For a moment he saw Evara's burned hand on the black glass record. Her insistence, her anger, her breath that had been hers. He pressed the muddy hand against his chest, over the place Aurelion had touched. The storm in him recoiled from the dirt. "Good. Do you hear?" he asked the sealed ground. No answer. "Of course." He lowered his head. Behind him, Aurelion said, "Havren." The new name pulled at his spine. Orren stayed kneeling for one more breath. Only one. His. Then he stood. The mud fell from his knees in heavy pieces. The mantle gathered around his bones. The storm waited under his ribs. Aurelion watched the hero he had made. Irene watched the man who had been taken. Orren reached for the note that had once belonged only to Evara. For a breath, he almost heard it. Not sound. Memory of sound. A warm room. A bad rhyme. A woman who did not clap. Then the storm taught his throat a larger noise. And somewhere beneath it, hidden, wounded, not yet dead, Orren Keld kept the silence where her note had been.
Rain on the sill, salt in the flame. goes quiet and the room lets go. Lay the last word gently where the dark runs slow.
There is still a road under ash, under rain. There is still a voice trying not to break. Carry the song through the dark and the foam. Carry the name when the cold calls home. Leave one small light where the lost can remain. I will find you by listening. You will know me by name.
Rain on the sill,
Salt in the flame. The door goes quiet. Carry